Hello and welcome to Get to Know Them podcast. This is a podcast in which I'm gonna talk with some of the world's highest performers in order to learn more about them. I'm your host, Cameron Shuligoy. I hope you enjoy. Hi, who do we get to know today?
Hey, I'm Ben Stern.
Hi Ben, who are you and what do you do?
I am a pro triathlete based out of San Diego, California.
That's very interesting, mostly because you still seem very young. How did you get into triathlon and how did you then become a professional triathlete?
Um, my path was not really a straight line, honestly. I did business and startup work after I started a company during college, and I did that for a few years and then kind of bounced around in different early stage tech startups and was not doing athletics at all. I played tennis in college, but I got sick of working at a desk and stuff, and I kept looking outside, and it was like a really nice day, and in my head I was just like, it's kind of childish, but I, I mean, is there a way that I could not just be working at a desk and do some sort of like sport as like a career and stuff? And then so I just kind of set a really random goal that I was like, I feel like the opportunity might be best in triathlon just based on like my just general fitness and build and like age and stuff. And then so I just kind of really randomly was like, I'm gonna go for it. And then so I set this kind of 2 year plan to become professional and then give myself a few years as a professional to kind of figure it out. And then yeah, like here we are. But it was just kind of really random how I stumbled into triathlon. I honestly, I was like working out at the gym before work, and often they'd show these like NBC like 30 minutes of Kona and stuff, and like it just seemed really pretty badass. Like it just seemed like a really hard endeavor, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Like I kind of want to do something like that. It seems like a really like gritty, good test of your mind and body, and so that's kind of what like drew me in and stuff. So I definitely don't have a very like traditional triathlon background. So like I didn't like start really young as like a cyclist and then just naturally follow the course. So yeah, I just kind of stumbled into it to be honest.
That seems very interesting. And to get a bit more perspective, in which year did you do your first triathlon? And which year did you then become a professional? How did this progression happen?
I'm always bad at remembering years. I want to say my first one was in 2021, and it was the St. George half Ironman. And honestly, I thought I was going to do really well, and I was like, yeah, things are going to be amazing. And then I did it, and it was just horrible. It was like it was way harder than I thought running up all those hills and stuff. And I think I went around like 5 hours for that one. And then so yeah, so that was, I guess, I'm into year 4 now of the sport. Um, but it's been interesting how your like perspective changes on um, just like racing times and progress and stuff. You sort of do lose perspective the closer you get to it. And so like it is kind of once in a while I do try to like take a look back and be like, oh wow, yeah, it's like it hasn't been that long and like there has been some good progress. So it is kind of it's hard to do that, but when you do it, it is kind of rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. And your progression, even though it's true what you said that you kind of lose some, let's say, perspective, your progression is pretty amazing. Could you maybe explain or tell us why do you think contributed the most to such a rapid progression that you made?
I think so. I think one of my superpowers, I guess, maybe it's a gift and a curse. It's just like I'm able to really get the work in, even if like my mind does not want to. And like candidly, there's a lot of times that I'm just like, dang, I really don't feel like doing this at all. Like I like wake up, I'm like, oh, like I don't get out of bed, I'm like, oh, I got a 6 hour ride today. I sometimes I get up, I'm like, oh, I got a ride. But like I'm able to just kind of like flip a switch and just like tackle the day in front of me and not like get too caught up big picture. So it's like it's good and bad. I almost have like short term memory. So like you kind of forget your failures quickly, but then sometimes you also forget your wins quickly. So like you're able to like build easier that way, I'd say. And a lot of that is things that just tricks and learnings I took from like startup stuff. It's almost like you're doing a startup when you're except you're the company in a way. So you just kind of, if you think too big picture, it's like so easy to get stressed out, get like lost in like what am I doing? Like because like every day the you don't like achieve you're not constant. You're always changing. Your mind's always a little different and stuff. So it's like very easy to like question things constantly. But if you just kind of like stay the course and just be like, okay, today I'm doing this, and then just like do it as well as you can, then I think that probably helps a lot with more progression.
Yeah, consistency is key. Everyone keeps saying. And as much as I hate cliches, it's true in basically every professional athlete's career.
I, I think it is. The other thing I think that probably helped me is so I started the sport at I'm probably older than you think, honestly. But I started when I was 27. So like I I think that there's a little bit more maturity. I had a little bit more maturity about not burying myself constantly. Like it's very easy when you're like in a group environment just to get like really like trigger happy almost, and you're like, oh yeah, I got to show them that I'm like super strong and stuff. But I think that part of my age, I just kind of like inherently knew I was like, oh, I don't think it's like super smart in this warm up to like go flat out up this hill on this long bike ride and stuff. So like I think that probably helps too a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And what made you come to this realization that it's better to give, let's say, 95% and stay consistent than to give 100% and burn out?
I don't know if anything really made me. I've always viewed durability as like a skill in the sport. So I think it's often like overlooked. I think like because at the end of the day, if you're injured and you're not training, you're not getting better. So it's almost better to do like an 85% quality thing, but stay healthy. So like I think you kind of have to really get good at listening to like your body and whatnot. I'd say I'm really good at knowing how I feel physically, and oftentimes I kind of I'd say mentally I more sandbag and I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do this. I blah blah blah, and then like often you usually are able to do it. You just kind of like you just got to squash that that little voice.
Yeah, I mean, I would ask this question because I think that a common perspective is that somebody gets into the sport or they become passionate about something and they think they have to go all in, you know. They start obsessing about it and now I have to train 10 hours a day, every day, no rest days. And that's why I was wondering. I think that is more common than approaching things with sensibility and this, let's say, a bit more restrictive approach. But you also mentioned something else beforehand. You mentioned that you don't often feel motivated to do the workouts, but then you just kind of like flip a switch and you do it anyway. And now I'm wondering because obviously every person has these moments in life when the things get tough. And I'm wondering what keeps you going when the things get hard for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wouldn't say I'm not motivated. It's just that it's very easy to be motivated when you feel like really fresh and your body feels good. But like what I've noticed is as I've progressed in the sport, and my I have a pretty high volume coach, so I'm doing. I mean, it's all relative, but it seems like it's a lot of training. But like that really wears on you, like physically, emotionally, and that's the hard part when like the going gets tough. I don't really, I don't really know. I just kind of like know it. I have to do it and like treat it professionally and respect it that the work needs to be done. So I just like kind of do it. Like it's like I mean, it's no different than your job, your day job. Like you don't. There are days that you probably really just don't feel like showing up and stuff, and you just kind of like have to. You just get out and do it and stuff. It sometimes I'd say the hardest part is that you you like are more in control of your schedule, so you can really procrastinate, and it's like very easy to be like there are a lot of days I procrastinate, and I I mean if my friends listen to this, they'll they'll laugh because I'm pretty notorious for starting pretty late on all my stuff. Like I'll like start a long ride sometimes at like noon. I'll just like mess around and just like not. I'll just like do anything but think about riding, and then I'll just like go out and start it. So like sometimes there is that factor that you just like delay. But at the end of the day, I know that you just you have to do it. That there's just something in my head. It's just like it just has to be done.
Yeah, that's a nice mentality to have. And I bet that's what contributed a lot to where you've come up until now. And I'm wondering, at what point did you realize that your dreams of becoming a professional can become true? And was it an easy decision to take the professional license and start competing as a professional?
Uh, uh, honestly, so I guess my whole adult working life, I've never been like inherently scared of failing, and I almost think it's important to take a leap even before like I for sure probably became pro before I was fully ready. But I knew that I had limited experience, so my approach was more just race, and just like get experience, like make a bunch of mistakes, like just even like understand how racing is different than training. And I'm still kind of navigating that and figuring that out. But like I, I I mean, it would have been nice to wait years and years and like really craft your stuff and then have a stellar debut and stuff. But like, I think that's probably something I brought from just my entrepreneurial background. Like when you're starting a business, it's not like if you just like keep it close to yourself, you don't get like customer feedback. You don't like show it to people, you might be doing the wrong thing and you won't even know. Like you just kind of have to sometimes accept that you're going to fail and have to make iterations and stuff. And so that's kind of how I approached the sport in itself. So I, I think that probably to answer your question, I'd say that like this year I had some like uh just benchmark tests that I think showed me that I actually probably didn't believe that I was really on the right path until like earlier this year. And then I had some tests that I found out because I mostly was training by myself. And so then I had some more benchmark tests, like just checking like your FTP and stuff. And like I was like, oh, actually, because I compared it to peers and stuff and like found out that I actually am on like a decent path now. So like I think that probably this year has been more of an inflection point, if any, that like it is possible to like grow and develop more.
That's great to hear. And I believe that you still have a lot of growth in your future and still a lot of more successes to come.
I hope
But
so.
I'm wondering now, what has, in your opinion, been your biggest success so far? And let's say in life in general and specifically in triathlon.
Ah, life, life in general, that's a tough one. I'll answer the triathlon one. I mean, it's gonna sound really like dumb, but I want to say that like as I've gone through the process of improving, there's been like small time, like almost like training milestones. Like I remember like the first time that I mean, you're gonna laugh, but the first time I ran a half marathon under 1:30, I was like, wow, that's like that sounds really fat. I was just like, that's like super cool. So like something like that, honestly, was like I think those are like really satisfying because like I don't know, I'm still working on having a breakthrough race, but to me, having a race result is like a very like one point in time. But like when you train and you see your stuff every day, and then you achieve something that you haven't achieved before in training, I think that's like pretty exciting to like see that you're able to like just you versus the clock, whatever, you're able to like get to that point. So like honestly, little things like that have been pretty rewarding. I remember the first time I like got my FTP at like I saw 300. I was like, wow, 300 watts. That's like amazing. So like things like that. It's like it's cool to just have these like far out milestones when you're first starting out, and then you're passing them. And you don't actually think you're improving, but when you like get to them, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that was like really. I thought I was like never gonna do that. So like I think things like that have been pretty satisfying. I don't know about my biggest life achievement, honestly. um, that's a pretty tough. That's a tough question. Um, I I tend to. Hmm, I don't know. I might have to come back. I'll come back to that. I'll think about that.
Okay, we're gonna let you come back to it later. But I really like your answer about triathlon successes because for various reasons. Because for one thing, it's important that you don't set these extremely high goals and you're only satisfied when you become a world champion or win a race or something. But you have to celebrate those smaller achievements, like you said. Like when I started running, I ran a half marathon, let's say, in 2 hours. And I had no idea and I didn't believe it was possible to run, let's say, 140, like in your case. And then you come to that point and you think to yourself, like, that's amazing. Like, I never thought I was capable of doing that. And then also, you just have to compare yourself to the previous version of yourself. And you have to give everything that you can to, let's say, improve because you can't influence what other people do or how good other people are. If you give your 100% and you come 10th in a race, then you just can't be sad or angry or I don't know what else because you gave it everything and you know you couldn't be better. So I really like your answer. Yeah. And I still have one more question about becoming a professional before we switch to other questions. I'm wondering, because triathlon is kind of like seen as an expensive sport, and it's not such a big sport, at least not in terms of money and sponsorships and such. I'm wondering how you're navigating this part of training. Do you have a lot of, let's say, sponsors or people who support you, or do you find it difficult to navigate in this field?
That's a great question. I think there needs to be more transparency. So a little bit about myself. I tend to make big decisions without. I'm much more of a guy that like learns by doing and failing, and I tend not research stuff. That's like something that's not good about me, but I tend to just like jump in. I was like super naive about how expensive it was getting in. I really thought it was going to be like I just had no idea that like specifically like the world of cycling, just like how ridiculous it gets. Like a small little like plastic thing is like $200. It's just like if I had known that, I probably just wouldn't have done what I'm doing. And then like I just like it's almost like you're same with the training. It's like you're a lobster being like cooked in a pot. It like starts out like normal temperature, and then it slowly heats up and heats up and heats up. So to answer your question, yeah, it's pretty difficult, especially when you're starting to like right now. The big thing I'm working on is I've been pretty frustrated this year with cycling, in the sense that my numbers are pretty good, I think, compared to like what other people are doing and I'm seeing out there. But like my speed has been so like bad, and so now I'm like worrying about like aero like outdoor aero testing, like position stuff and like different equip, like it just becomes like just it's like you're just like money money money, and so that to me has been very I wish it was much more just like who's the best on this random bike and stuff and things like that. So like navigating that has been very challenging, and I think that there's not a lot of information online that kind of tells you that as you get more elite, like things just cost much more, and it's very easy to justify having to get like, I don't know, like at a for the run, you'd like get this like $200 cooling headband because everyone else is wearing them and stuff like so. It I found it very tricky on how to, but what I've done since starting is like I really didn't want to pull all the levers of like top end stuff right away. I wanted to like make sure that like, because it's very easy to get all this stuff and then the problem is you. It's like you're not strong enough. Like then that's like that's a totally different issue. So I wanted to first get to a certain point like physically, then start worrying about like spending extra money on equipment and stuff. And I think that a lot of people, a lot of some training partners I've had, and just people I've met that are getting into the sport, I think sometimes pull the trigger too soon on a lot of these big purchases and stuff. And I think that sometimes can add extra financial pressure. But yeah, it's like really tough. Like I do have sponsors, but like honestly, it's pretty expensive to get to a race. It's um from like I'm racing this weekend in Canada, and to fly from like California, if you like book your flights way up, it's like $500 to like fly there. Then you got to like stay in a hotel, and it's hard if you don't have a rental car and stuff. So it is like super challenging. So I think one thing I'm good at is making connections at races with like the other pros, like crashing, like safety in numbers. Like stay with other people if you can, because it's like it's cheaper. You can save money on that front, and just it's it's not that easy. Like I'll just yeah. I don't I don't know if I really answered your question though.
No, it was a nice answer because I know it's tough, and I've had some other people who were telling basically the same story. But you'll be happy because I might have a solution for you. You said that you're racing Ironman Canada, and I tell you what, you beat Lionel Sanders in that race, and you're gonna get tons of sponsorships and tons of sponsor money in the future.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
I hope I beat him.
I mean, no pressure, but that would save a lot of your problems.
I think the other thing to add is, so I like worked before triathlon. So I had like personal savings that I used, and like that really helped me out in the beginning and stuff to like have like some I really like some. I mean, I know that there's probably a lot of like family money and stuff and whatnot, but like I think that of like a lot of people that haven't had jobs, but I think it is pretty challenging when people are funding themselves and stuff. And like right now, my biggest supporter is my partner, and she's been like helping me out this year and stuff. So it's really like it does take a village to try to make it, I guess, is how I'd say. So that's pretty challenging in some respects too. And it can be frustrating also if you know that other people don't have those pressures, because then that's just another thing that is on your shoulders. You got to worry about. You got to worry about your training and all that, but then you got to worry about like the actual money. And then like you know that other people are just focused on the training because they might have like super rich parents or something. And like so that to me is just another thing I didn't anticipate getting into the sport.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that and understand that. And I obviously wish you good luck in your future, both training wise and also financially wise. But let's switch,
Likewise.
yeah, let's switch the gears a bit to a bit more general or let's say personal questions. I'm
Sure,
wondering,
sure.
what's one thing that you wanted to do for a long time but just haven't done it yet?
That's a cool question. I I guess I've always wanted to live overseas, and I just think it's like an interesting challenge to get like thrown into a new environment. And I did earlier this year spend a few months just like in a random area in Taipei and just in some different areas in Asia, and that was like a pretty rewarding personal growth experience. Um, I think it would be much. I'd like to do it without triathlon per se in the future, like down the road, because I think it's different when you're like worrying about like training, diet, bike, like all that, like it just kind of takes the adventure out when you just like show up to a place with a backpack and just kind of like figure it out. So like I think that's probably something in the future. I'd like to like spend more time in a different area and like really like try to like put down roots and just kind of see where it takes you, you know.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
I, honestly, I'm kind of a creature of habit as is. So I usually get the same stuff from Trader Joe's. I eat a lot of this brioche French toast, and then honestly, probably just like some kind of like fried rice with like a meat in it. I could eat that. I kind of do eat that almost every day. Um, I don't know. That's a hard question though, because sometimes if you pick something like with too strong of a flavor, you'd really just get you'd start hating your life down the road if you were just eating like some super spicy dish. Yeah, honestly, probably just like some kind of fried rice.
Okay, I think that's a
That's many
nice.
ingredients though. That's not just one thing. It's not like just broccoli or something.
No, no, no. It's a nice question. And as somebody who eats tons of rice, I like that answer. But I'm
It's
wondering,
cheap and easy.
yeah, and you can pair it with a lot of things. You can make it sweet, you can make it spicy, you can make it whatever you want. So I'm wondering, what's your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. Honestly, it's hard to have too many guilty pleasures when you're a pro. I like to watch TV. Like I I'm not one of those guys that like that if if you ever read an interview of me down the road, I'm not one of those people that's like even when I have been like super busy, like I am super busy now, but like I have more agency on how I manage my time and stuff because I'm like primarily the boss of myself and whatnot. But I'm not going to be one of those people that's like I'm living every 15 minutes have like a new task. Like I'm just not a scheduled person in that sense. So like I kind of like to like just, just chill and unwind and not think about like right now what I'm doing. Like, don't think about um, triathlon. I think it's important to turn off. It's like you can't think about these things all day, train all day, and then watch YouTube of triathlon all day and stuff. Like, I stay away from that. So like, I like to watch just random shows on Netflix and stuff. My favorite one is The Walking Dead.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I mean, you have to chill, you have to relax, you have to take a step back, because otherwise, I think that you're on a way to burnout, or I don't know, becoming too
Yeah,
obsessive about things, and that's never a good thing.
life doesn't need to be too serious. If you treat it's a privilege to be able to do like a physical endeavor like triathlon, and if you treat it like you're dealing with like the nuclear codes of something, it's just like you're just like, what are you doing? Like you're doing something is amiss.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And now I'm wondering, what's one thing that annoys you or makes you angry?
Hmm. I think that annoys me. I guess I guess it does take a lot to like really properly get me annoyed. But I think when I like spend too much time with someone that's like super I guess like unchill, honestly, just like they get really like flustered about everything and get like super agitated about the time and stuff. Like things like that, I guess that does kind of annoy me. I don't like when people like project unnecessary stress and then it like goes on to me and stuff and then I have to like suddenly worry about like time and stuff like things like that I'd say annoy me.
S-
Annoys you?
Too many stuff. If I started mentioning stuff that annoys me, we would sit here until tomorrow. So we better not go there.
Fair enough. I mean, I can make a long list too. Don't get me wrong.
I'm wondering what is the ultimate goal that you have in life?
In life, I mean, I try not to think too like. I mean, that'd be pretty crazy if I had some monster like general life plan. I I like to like break things into chapters, and like I'd say that right now I'm pretty focused on the triathlon chapter. And so my ultimate goal is I really want to make it like a financially sustainable endeavor. And so just making sure that like there is some sort of steady income that I'm not like cash negative with. That's like my ultimate goal, and I, I think that includes like ultimately winning some uh races and like just making getting better and higher profile and stuff. But like I didn't start out with the goal to like win Kona and stuff. That was like not really, I mean, just things take you in different places, directions and stuff. But I didn't like wake up and be like, I have to win Kona at all costs. Not that, I mean, I don't know, like just things like that. So like that's probably my current North Star focus, just like what I'm focused on. But like my big goal, I don't know. I'd say my life goal is I don't want to like I kind of want to live a relatively stress free existence and just kind of not. I think that I learned earlier on in my adult life with and my partner, she's pretty aligned with this too because she also was in the small startup space and stuff. I think it's very easy to get obsessed with money, prestige, and just like grind yourself and just like completely deprioritize your mental health, your like things you enjoy and stuff for like the sake of a goal to just like drive. And I think like that at the end of the day just does not make you happier. And like, yeah, you need to have like enough to like pay for your rent and your like groceries and stuff, but like you don't, I don't think it makes you happy to like just constantly worry about just leveling up in like your career and stuff. I think it's important to like pay attention to like the small stuff and like I don't know, during the day I'm looking over at my dog sleeping there, just like pet your dog and stuff, like just like things like that too. So I don't know, I kind of changed my approach on life earlier on, and just probably just due to burnout of it's pretty stressful when you like have a business and you have people like responsible or like you're responsible for and stuff, and like you're just like constantly worried like I need to bring in more money to this and stuff, like so I think that stuff is not that really changed my perspective and stuff. So I try to I try to just like be more present and not worry too much about like just driving. But like there is an aspect that I do really believe that each day you need some sort of like struggle in a sense to like overcome. Like you can't. I don't think people are happy if they just like sit around and do nothing. Um, so like that's what I also really like with triathlon. It's like you got like you open your training piece and you got a struggle in front of you in some capacity. So it's like that sort of thing that you can also just, it adds a little bit more depth to life too, in a sense. I don't know if that answers your question though.
That is a very nice and a perfect answer. I like it very much. And I mean that really honestly because I think that your way of thinking is very mature and also very balanced. You mentioned that you definitely need some sort of a struggle in your life, but you also realize that you also not need to take all the things very seriously and you need to relax and everything. And I think that I think that you found a pretty nice balance for your life, and I hope that you keep this balance for as long as possible.
No, nothing is like everything's always change is always happening. So like I think we can always improve and strive for like better stuff. But yeah, no, I hope I'm sort of balanced at the moment. But I definitely think I could be better about it.
Yeah, but there's always room for improvement. So you also don't have to be so strict with yourself. And I think that this is a very positive and a very nice note to steer this conversation towards the end. And at the end, I let my guest leave a question for the next guest that is coming on the show. My previous guest was Valentino Agnelli. He's an up-and-coming professional triathlete from Argentina, but currently lives in Boulder, Colorado. And he wants to know, if you had to do one sport for 24 hours, would you choose swimming, cycling, or running?
Oh gosh, running for 24 hours sounds rough. Um, I would for sure do. I really enjoy cycling. I definitely pick cycling. I like how it's it's all pretty uncomfortable. So it's just all about like pain, sustaining the pain. So I feel like that sounds like the best type 2 fun. Although honestly, my bike saddle is pretty uncomfortable. So 24 hours with that would be rough. What did he say? I feel like I've seen him before to race.
He didn't answer his own question.
Oh, he doesn't have to. You don't have
So,
to answer your own question, huh?
yeah, you're gonna have to ask him if you want to know his answer. But I'm wondering
Sounds.
now, what is your question for the next guest on the show?
Hmm. I think there's not a lot of info out there on navigating the world of pro triathlon. So I'd ask them like, do you have any advice on a person who's newer in their pro career? Like, what do you wish you knew um, going into that?
Okay.
Because it's a very different. Uh, it's very different.
Yeah, definitely. And are you gonna be better than Valentino? And are you gonna answer your own question?
Yeah, sure. I I think that um, I think you need to be very, you need to like treat the business stuff also as like a facet of your training and be like pretty organized and responsible on that front. Because at the end of the day, that's a big pillar of being able to like make it ultimately. Because there's like different sources of ways to bring in revenue. So you need to like make sure you're doing stuff to like help the brands versus like having the approach of just being like I'm a pro, they should come to me. They like so like be really organized and communicative on that front, and then the actual racing, man, really focus on the swim. Like I didn't think it was. I heard like anecdotally the swim was important, but like I've not been able to make a front pack on the swim yet, and like you can bike really well and just it does not get displayed because like if you miss the train you truly do miss the train, so like really try to like make sure you're good on the swimming and stuff, and like yeah, I don't know, just like don't be scared of failing. I think a lot of people I know are just like really waiting for their either their like debut or stuff, but I think like just getting out there and just like doing it because I mean what's the worst that happens? Someone like looks at your Instagram post that is like, oh, he didn't do that well, and then they just like scroll to the next. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like, so just get in as many reps as you can early on.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
That's a few things.
No, no, I really like your answer. Hope that everyone was taking notes. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what the next guest is gonna answer to your question. But it was a real pleasure talking to you, Ben. It was an awesome conversation, a lot of pieces of knowledge. And I'm wondering, if people want to learn more about you, follow you, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm pretty well. First of all, thanks so much for having me on. And I'd say I'm pretty active on Instagram. So just like it's just my name, Ben Stern 619. That's good. Uh, yeah, just like Instagram's probably the best way. And try to read messages and stuff. So I'll definitely like get back to you if you ever have questions and stuff.
That's nice. I'm gonna put the link into the show notes so people will have no trouble and no excuses finding you. But like I said,
Cool.
it was awesome to talk to you, and I wish you all the best. First in Ironman Canada, and then in all the future training and races.
Thank, Thanks so much. Hopefully, this is one of those podcasts where I'm just like this random mid pack dude, and then it's just like Ironman Canada, really great result, and then people come to the podcast. So
Yeah,
hopefully we've got that going.
I mean, I did my part by inviting you on. Now the next part by getting a good result is on you. So
Well, we will see.
we'll see. Wish you all the best and good luck.
Thanks so much. Have a good rest of your day.